down and out about their haircuts.
Bottom line, I'm begging anybody out there, before you go and get surgery, before you walk into these hair club system places, I'm telling you right now, I am $20,000 in the hole, and 10 years of stress, the last 3, an absolutely horrifying existence of stress and pain. And I can promise you, the stress of this hairpiece is 1,000 times more than I would have ever felt if I had just been confident with who I am, dealt with the fact that these are the cards I've been dealt, and deal with them, and just shave my head. And honestly, like Spencer said, not everyone's there, but that's where I'm at.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Great to be here. Tuesday night, the evening of Yom Kippur. For all of my Jewish friends out there who have seemed to disappear actually from watching the program tonight. But I understand everyone's getting ready for shul, or they are in temple. Apparently, we have a lot of Jewish folks tuning into the program, Joe. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I think it's because of me.
Of course I knew that. Of course I knew that. We got plenty of Jewish listeners.
Those folks. People like myself.
Those folks. What do you mean, those folks?
People like myself. Anyway.
Myself.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. We are the hair loss guys. As fucked up as that sounds, and it does. It doesn't make me feel good, to be honest. That's my label. That's who I am.
Yeah.
But I have been doing this for the majority of my adult life, going on almost 21 years of broadcasting. My levels are okay. I think so. Let's see.
Yeah, sounds good.
And was published, 1998. March 1998. Simon & Schuster Pocket Books put The Bald Truth out in bookstores. Back in the day when there were actually brick-and-mortar bookstores it was a big deal. And when Amazon.com was in its infancy, we were lucky enough within the first year to become one of the first Amazon.com best-selling books in history. So it's all about its timing, though.
Of course.
Because Amazon I think Amazon came out in, 96?
I think so, yeah.
So, but we have been doing this for quite a long time, and the reality is that 2/3 of you by the age of 35 will suffer with some degree of hair loss. 40% of hair loss sufferers are women, so this is a silent epidemic of, insanely biblical proportions. This issue affects most households in the world. That's just the way that it is.
It's amazing when you think about it. It's like this issue that is debilitating for so many people to varying degrees affects almost every household on the planet.
Yes. Why do you think I do this? Why do you think I got into this?
Yeah.
The reality is for me at least, I think there might be something wrong with my mic. For me at least, when I was going through the initial throes of hair loss, I felt completely alone. I did not know that there were other people who felt the same way about their hair loss as I did. I felt as though there was something wrong with me to be so consumed by losing my hair because, everyone was just saying, man up, what's the big deal? It's hair loss. And I guess it was cathartic for me. And the reason I decided to do what I do is because I was in search not only for answers, but for other people like me.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I found them. And I found them pretty quickly.
And they didn't go away.
They didn't go away. And as soon as as that book was published and I got this program on the radio, they all came out of the woodwork. And I had no idea of the incredible silent suffering that was going on. And not that it necessarily made me feel better that other people were suffering as well, but it kind of helped me to carve my space out in this world and let the world know that they are not alone either and that there's someone out here listening. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I may check my mic processor in a second, Joe. I don't know. It seems like my levels are slightly low, at least coming in my board.
It sounds fine. Like in my earbuds, you sound fine.
Yeah, I'm really neurotic. Guys, give us a call. We're live tonight. And if you don't call, I got actually my buddy here who's about to go back to his home on the East Coast. I'd rather be hanging out with him. So I'm doing this for you guys, and Joe's here for you guys. And if we don't get any live calls tonight, then we don't talk anymore. And we'll see you on Friday. Happy Yom Kippur. You know, it's really not a happy holiday, but you know.
I got a video to make. I want to try and get out tonight. I got probably 3 more videos to try and get out by Monday. It's like there's stuff to do, guys.
All right. So what's happening?
What's happening?
Yeah, what's new?
Should we talk about it?
I don't know.
Like what's happening? Okay, so lightheartedly speaking, what's happening is got a new doc that I'm making a new video for, so that a new playlist will be on my YouTube channel. Talking about this guy. I think he's fantastic. And I got 2 more docs that I'm bringing on board. Excited about that. That's videos coming once one of them has to get me a bit more information because I want to make sure that he's up to snuff before I bring him on. But it's exciting. I mean, people applying and good people. What seems to be people with a skill set that is above the average person that's been contacting me, because I don't have a lot of people that I work with, and a lot of it's because majority of people are applying just you know how it goes. What else is going on? No rain. It's been raining like a mofo here in the Pacific Northwest. It's nice to have some sunshine. That's about it.
All right, so I'm going to have to take over. What we need to talk about, honestly, is, and this is what's up, is that we're getting closer to the World Conference of the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery. Which is
okay.
Yeah, which is really, and it's actually here. It's in Hollywood, which is actually the biggest hair transplant conference in the world. Now, it's very exciting for a lot of guys, especially those who are members of the ISHRS. They get together once a year. There's this whole collegial, aspect to it, and I would say that there is some really good information that's put out there for those who want to learn about surgical hair restoration. For those who are in the field who may kind of be lagging behind. And I was actually, talk about this, and I actually spoke to somebody who was concerned about me not, in their mind, speaking highly of the ISHRS. And I had to explain to them, and I was very clear that there's really nothing negative that I put out there about the ISHRS. I'm just telling the truth as far as their particular shortcomings in the, as far as the direction that they want to go. And, their main concern now is they want, the industry is going to hell in a handbasket. They're trying to figure out ways to correct this. Mm-hmm. And they have not been able to do it based on, in my view, they have a very a rigid bureaucracy, and they kind of work out of fear, and they are unable to take certain actions that are necessary in order, in my view, to save the lives of countless patients. Yeah. That's just the reality. Yeah. Now, they are able to do it. They choose not to because they developed a certain pyramid of a structure, that is essentially a hierarchy. And in the end, they refer to their legal team, who, in my opinion, I don't know exactly who they are, but based on the information provided to me by certain members of the ISHRS, either they're extremely conservative or they are not guiding the organization in the best direction, in my view. I probably wouldn't have decided, as a nonprofit to be a 501c3. There are other distinctions that would give them a little bit more flexibility and still allow them to say that they're a nonprofit organization. But the reality is that nonprofit status that they are so fearful of losing is only dependent on two things. One is you got to keep salaries within reason, and I don't want to get into that. But only the money that is raised, however it's raised, has to be used for running the organization and to help to promote its mission. Period. The only limitations, you have some lobbying limitations where, like, you can't be pro or for or donate to a political candidate. And that's it. Otherwise, there are no rules. Almost every major hate group in the United States has tax-exempt status. Do you think these guys are following any other rules?
You mean the Grand Wizards, the Mississippi chapter of the KKK?
It's very possible. But all I know is that there's about 60-some-odd hate groups, or I would say that they are referred to as hate groups. I'm not going to say they're hate groups.
Yeah.
But at least they're distinguished by certain criteria through nonprofit associations, and they've been called hate groups. That's all I'm going to say. But that's what I find hilarious. And I also find it interesting that they talk about, and this was sent to me, and I knew about this, they're concerned about being spoken poorly about when we're just basically pointing out some issues that could be fixed. Yet, they have no problem saying that there are pseudo-nonprofits out there and other organizations that are popping up that are not real for some reason.
What does that even mean?
You guys have to understand what the definition of an organization is. Also, as far as nonprofits are concerned, you can be an incorporated nonprofit, you can be a nonprofit trust, you can be an unincorporated nonprofit, which I don't understand why you would do that, but you can be, because if you're unincorporated, you do not have the protection of the corporation for personal liability. So I don't think that's a good idea. But there are all different ways to claim that you're a nonprofit. If you're earning less than $5,000 a year, total, not only do you not have to file, depending on your status, and if you are incorporated as a nonprofit locally, you can say you're a nonprofit. But again, you can say you're a nonprofit if you're unincorporated. So this whole, when people think nonprofit or non-for-profit, I will tell you this. Being in the nonprofit sector for many years and having made a choice to relinquish the federal tax-exempt status because we chose not to bring any take any donations or to have any salaries from the American Hair Loss Association or charge any membership dues for the American Hair Loss Association, essentially making no income, making it a completely 100% voluntary organization. But having had the 501c3 status for a long time, I realized that, sadly, it's really misused. And people are under this false impression that these companies are not making a profit. Well, I can tell you this. Most nonprofits earn a profit. It's the way they distribute that money.
It's the only way they can pay for anything, pay for legitimate events or promotions or anything like that. Of course there's profit.
If there's a nonprofit and they are, say, investing in the stock market, that's obviously federally and locally tax exempt. And then that is used to pay salaries, and sometimes they're very high salaries. Mm-hmm. And that is used for extravagant vacations for the board of directors and all kinds of stuff. I'm not just talking about the ISHRS. I'm saying in general.
In general, yeah.
As far as charities are concerned, well, I think the American Cancer Society and all these charities are wonderful charities. They, in my view, they really create awareness. But if you think that your money that you are giving these charities are going to research in general, a very small percentage is. If you see a nonprofit that has a commercial on television, probably not the nonprofit, in my view, to support. That's just my opinion. I think, if you want to be charitable, find somebody. Like, for instance, all these companies that are providing wigs for children. I would much rather sponsor a child who needs a wig and pay for that wig myself than give the money to these organizations. Because we know that at least one organization who's been around for forever has supplied no more than like 2,200 wigs. And there are thousands upon thousands and thousands and thousands of people cutting off their ponytails, children, to give this hair away. So,
that's good.
I'm sorry?
That's good. That's good. And what's interesting is I think that
guys, we will take your calls in a second. Go ahead.
I think there's a general perception that when someone says we're a nonprofit, it's automatically associated with a charity, and so that kind of bleeds over to where when someone says, "Oh, well, we're nonprofit," they don't know what they're talking about because they have been told that they're nonprofit, and so they don't take the necessary steps to think beyond that of what it is exactly that means.
I can tell you this, that running a nonprofit, being in the nonprofit sector, having that tax exempt status, because we chose not to earn any money, it meant nothing for us. And I realized after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm going to relinquish this, as there's no point, A, in paying for it. But after learning about nonprofits, really doing my research, I read every book possible. I would say that I understand this aspect of the law better than most of probably the attorneys that are running some of these nonprofits. And I can tell you that, in my view, many of these nonprofits are cons. Sounds terrible, but it is to give a perception to the public that you are doing something for the better good, as opposed to what it really is. Some sort of a marketing mechanism, some sort of a way to not have to pay taxes and get your message out there, whether it's a religious message, whether it's a message of whatever. And people are just completely unaware of it. Now, I'm not saying that's the issue with the ISHRS, but for anyone to put themselves out there as though they are somehow above the rest because they have 501c3 status, that's complete bullshit. And it's actually insulting to the consumer. Because to me, it's just a fucking snow job. Just had to say it. Sure.
No, hey, it needs to be said. And I mean, if we're going to go there, it's, like you said, the big meeting is coming up next month in LA. It's a big meeting because there's, it is the biggest meeting of the year anyway. But, the problem with how some of the leadership looks at what you're saying, or even things I'm saying, as being overly critical, or even I don't know what some of the other descriptors were that were used to talk about this.
Essentially, we're bashing the organization. We are anti-ISHRS. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, that's exactly. And so I want to lay it out because I know that some members of ISHRS are listening, maybe even some members of Board of Governors. You need to understand one simple concept. The model that you've all been used to for the past 20 years is going to be dead in 5 years.
Less.
Gone. And your survival depends on not having 13 meetings to decide when to have a meeting. It depends on being aggressive and knowing the message that you need to craft to deliver to the consumer. Because the consumer, in the end, needs to understand the dangers of hair transplant surgery, which is what I've been talking about with my videos for the past 4 years, what Spencer's been talking about for freaking 20 years.
Don't remind me.
Any critique or any bashing that you think is going on is an effort to get something positive going.
I'm going to let you talk for 1 second. I want to check my sound. Just keep talking.
It's an effort to get something positive going with the ISHRS as an organization. The potential for good that is within the ISHRS is massive. It's the largest, 1,200, I think, members. the largest organization on the planet when it comes to hair loss and hair transplant surgery. Yet, nothing's changing. And I've been critical, and I've bashed, quote unquote, some of the social media campaigns that have been out there, because I want the ISHRS to take notice of what I'm saying, and me being critical of like Follicle Friday, because you need to understand that is not an effective use of your, you could even say, your advertising dollars. What are you advertising? But it's a bad use of your social media presence, the energies that are being expended to put out a message about how fast someone's hair grows.
Well, what's even
who cares?
As bad of a use as that is, just the conversations behind the scenes about, this is what I don't understand. And guys, please hold on. We'll take your calls in a second. What I don't understand is, these are supposed to be people, men of science and women of science, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be critical thinkers. They're supposed to base their decisions and base their opinion on empirical data. However, what they do essentially is gossip and base their decisions and why they make certain decisions on completely fabricated information. Like there's somehow a fake ISHRS Facebook page that we control, or I control.
Yeah.
That was actually, the main people in the ISHRS, they're the ones who put this thing up. Like in October, I think it was October 25th, 2010. I wasn't invited to be a part of it until 2014.
Right.
And there are people on that website, on that page, who I would never, if I had any control of it, would never allow to post on there. It's ludicrous. So in their minds, somehow like, okay, so I started this page in a clandestine fashion. I waited for 4 fucking years.
Before you put your name on it.
Yeah, just until the time was right. Let it build up. And then I was going to swoop in and take it. What kind of a sick fuck do you think that I am?
It was your ploy to take over the ISHRS.
What kind of a sick motherfucker do you think these people think I am? I can't even believe it. And I can't even believe that any type of a critical thinker would even entertain that idea. And there's a guy out there that believes that we somehow block links to the ISHRS on the ISHRS's page. I would have no control of that.
Oh, tagging.
Tagging.
Yeah.
I have to tell you this. There are some very, very smart people in hair transplant field, incredibly smart doctors. But some people, I'm telling you, it is like, and I've said this before, it's like speaking to a dementia patient. Joe, you always get that face. I don't know. You don't know what to say, or do you don't know whether to laugh or cry or hide?
No, I'm just letting you say your stuff, man.
But that is that's just the reality of the situation. Anyone who believes what has been going around lately is either, I'm sorry, there's got to be some sort of deficiency there. All this is out there for public consumption. You could, if all you have to do is look on any of these websites, you can see the history. It's all there for you to see. Who can control what? Who owns what?
Yeah. I just, the whole thing is, it's bewildering to me because the formula is simple. It's simple. Like, all this can be turned around if enough people just kind of got the message, understood the message, and said, you know what, let's make it happen.
12 months, 12 months time, dude.
Yeah.
12 months. Within 24 months, and that's a full 2 years, it would be a completely different field. And as we speak, every day that passes by, every phone call these fucking people make, every time they deny the truth to be told to their membership, consumers are being harmed. And I was asked not to, by somebody who I have a lot of respect for. Why am I speaking badly of the ISHRS? I'm not. I'm letting them know they have the power to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if you contradict our message, then you're essentially depriving not only your membership of being able to keep the doors open, but of people getting good hair transplants. And I find that that's beyond repugnant.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Agreed. Look, it's time for people to step up, stop talking, stop being concerned about things that don't even begin to matter in any universe, and take action. That's all there is to it. I mean, you can't have meetings about this. You can't take it slow. Someone's going to have to step up and make things happen. And until that happens, it's just going to continue to get worse.
Well, I can tell you, he's probably sleeping now, but I spoke to someone who's very, very smart guy in the UK, and someone who I think is going to really, who I think got it today. I really do. And was very open, wants to speak again. And, you know, my hope is, and he is a pretty big force in the ISHS, my hope is he can shake some of these guys and say, guys, wake the fuck up. Kobren and Tillman are right.
With his lovely accent.
He actually, I have to tell you, I'm talking on the phone today. I'm like, this guy has a lovely voice and accent.
He does.
Yeah.
He really does. I think he's got a great speaking voice.
He actually told me that I invited him to be on the program when he's here in LA, and he said that somebody else would maybe make a better, present better. I'm like, no. I think you would. He is a very calming figure. Yeah. I think he should be on camera more. And if you're listening, I don't want to divulge your name. You know, I spoke with you today. Don't sell yourself short, dude, because you have a very, I think, powerful and palatable presence.
Meanwhile, one of the 5 other doctors you've spoken to today are going, man, he thinks I got a great speaking voice. That's awesome. That's awesome. I never thought it. I always knew it, but I never had anyone tell me.
There's only 2 guys that speak like that. And one guy's probably listening. Anyway, let's take a phone call. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Shalom, boys. It's Nico. How do?
Nico. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Actually, it's good yontif.
Oh, yeah.
Lashana Tova.
I'm secular, so I don't know this shit. I only have the last name.
I hear you.
My dad's a Holocaust survivor, so it's interesting.
Your dad's a Holocaust survivor?
Wow.
Yeah, guy's 94. It's crazy.
Holy cow. And by the way, I think there's one organization that are Holocaust deniers. That's a nonprofit.
Bastards.
By the way.
Ugh.
So to even put yourself in that category as though you're elevating yourself, it's complete bullshit. But anyway, go ahead.
How do? You guys doing good?
Yeah, I can't complain, man. I had a really nice week. I had a buddy that stayed out here with me, a childhood friend. And it was a lot of fun.
I can't complain. There's just too much bad going on right now in this industry.
Well, there is, but on a personal level, even though I take this personally, I try to keep it open. I try to be uplifted and enjoy my life, even though the industry's falling apart. I mean, the worst case scenario is I just walk away.
I was so upset today. I was pulling wings off of flies.
I know you were. I saw that actually. I've got a camera in your house. So what's up, Nico?
Yeah. No, not to be a buzzkill. I mean, I was going to ask a couple questions. I was going to say on the bad note.
I get it.
No, I mean, even when you guys were talking maybe a week or 2 ago with somebody about, he called in about, slow growers, and you guys had mentioned, that's part of like the playbook.
Yeah.
To make you guys go, to make patients go away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that shit is just so disconcerting. Just all those kinds of things that'll just make, that'll have a doctor or a clinic want to drive a patient away for a while just to ease their own anxiety as opposed to relieve the patient's.
Well, let me jump in on that. I got to tell you that part of the playbook that's I guess a good general reference to the situation, but you got to understand that a lot of the people in these clinics that say this, they actually believe that shit. I mean, they truly believe it. Wow. And I don't know if it's because of the experience in their own clinic, or if or if it's just goes back to the issue of you say something over and over enough, you eventually believe it yourself. You believe your own bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't honestly say that it is a conscious effort just to get you out of the office for another few months. I think that I strongly believe that there are many clinics that truly believe it when they tell patients, "Oh, it'll take 6 years for the final result." I'm just kidding.
Well, I agree with Joe, but it's not. That doesn't mean that's still not part of the playbook. It doesn't mean the playbook is phony. It means that this is what everyone is taught to believe, so it becomes part of the playbook. And then some people who've been around for a while realize, well, maybe that's not the case, but we're still going to say it.
And you know, like if you're one of those people that read the forums,
don't read the forums.
Someone will say something about something, and then it kind of it tends to catch. Like there will be one particular issue, and maybe a possible solution is presented, and it sticks, and it gets repeated over and over. Where the first person that said it was just kind of guessing or like just pulling out of the air, and they have no clue. Case in point is the use of MSM, which is a mineral, to cause your grafts to start to grow earlier.
Faster, yeah. That's
complete horseshit, and I know that because I was there when the rumor got started. The first time it was mentioned, it was actually by a friend of mine that had his surgery like 2 months before me. This is 16 years ago, and it started with him saying, "Yeah, I started taking 3,000 micrograms of MSM daily to increase the rate of my hair growth, not to cause early graft sprouting."
Exactly.
And that's what it does. It causes your hair to grow faster, your nails will grow faster. But somehow someone picked that up as being good for graft growth. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
Zilch.
I remember I even saw that on a forum a couple of years ago, and Dr. Lupinzula even corrected that. Somebody said, "Oh, Dr. Lupinzula recommended MSN," and they totally mistook what he meant by what it was intended for, just as he said.
because they read about it on the forum as being it helps with grafts to pop through earlier, which isn't true. So big segue there, but or big distraction there, but it's easy for these things to kind of take root and grow when they have absolutely zero validity to them whatsoever.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I thought while I have you guys, sorry.
That's it?
No. I was gonna. Yeah, right. Coming from me, hell no. Two questions, if not, I can get.
Go ahead, man.
One in at least. I know, Joe, you didn't upload a couple of months ago, or probably even longer than that, maybe a year. I can't remember the timeline. Maybe a year ago or in between, about laser caps. I didn't know what your take on, or both of you guys, what your guys' take on that is all about as a treatment. I mean, in the sense of, I know you don't endorse one necessarily, but is there one or a type that you like?
Nope.
If you were to use one? I
don't care. Okay, I'll tell you one I don't like. I don't like the big hood systems that you have to roll around on the floor like I had in that video. That's old school. That's like that particular unit that I had in studio was probably, well, it's actually fairly new, relatively speaking, maybe a few years old, but that design has been around for 15 years.
Right.
The options are various caps and helmets, and then combs or brushes. I think that if you wear one of these helmets, personally, I mean, it may work, but some of these helmets will combine laser with LED diodes.
Right.
Yep. LEDs? When did that happen?
I am putting out, and you heard it here first, a cowboy hat, laser hat.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm going to have a big seal on it, and it's going to be like a white Stetson, and that's it. And you know the thing is, if I put the American Hair Loss Association seal on it, all these idiots are going to be walking around with cowboy hats.
And looking a smite better than those that are walking around wearing these stupid, stormtrooper helmets.
But that is the sad fact. That is the sad fact of life. If it is the only device that is endorsed, and maybe we'll do that for fun one day. If that is the only device that's endorsed by the American Hair Loss Association, we get that out there. Everyone would pick it up. The media would pick it up. All you guys would be walking around with cowboy hats. That's how vulnerable.
And looking damn good.
But that's how vulnerable everybody is. You know?
You can't deny the power of a white Stetson.
But that's the vulnerability, you know, like Nico's asking about laser caps. And I understand that. And there are doctors who I have a lot of, I admire as far as their surgical skills, the way they treat their patients, all that stuff, that are big fans of low-level laser light therapy when it comes to hair loss. I have not seen the consistent results that maybe people are seeing in clinic. That's it. And if I did, I would have endorsed some form through the American Hair Loss Association by now. Now, that doesn't mean that's not working. Joe has seen it for himself, and I have seen some images. But I've never known anybody personally who's contacted me and said, hey, I've gotten these incredible results from one of these laser devices. And I've been around for a long time.
I am, no doubt.
So, I had people reach out to me after that video to show me the results, and there were some impressive results. And then some of the doctors I work with are pretty big on it, and they've shown me.
Well, you only work with doctors who I work with, and that's the thing.
Okay, that we work with.
No. What I'm saying is, so I mean, I have no that's why it's not even like I'm contradicting you or you're contradicting me. You know, if I don't see it with my own eyes, even if you tell me, I can't say okay.
Right.
I hear you.
That's it.
But to get further into the answer, I don't recommend any particular kind. I do recommend against a particular kind, just because I think it looks ridiculous, and that's the helmets. The helmets. Yeah. I think that if you're going to do some sort of laser therapy, there are various caps on the market. I think that makes sense, because the whole point of treating your hair loss or doing something about your hair loss is to treat your hair loss or do something about your hair loss without letting anyone know. Yes, you can sit at home and you can have this stupid helmet on your head and no one knows it, but it's like, why? It's like if you want to treat your hair, then and you got this stupid helmet on your head, you can't leave the house. If you got this baseball cap by insert manufacturer here, you can take it, you can go shopping with it or whatever, or go to the store, whatever you need to do, and you don't look like a fanboy of some defunct sci-fi movie. Then there are the options like combs. It can be argued that when you're separating the hair with the comb, and this movement of my hand indicates moving hair with a comb, that it exposes more the scalp instead of just the hair follicles, and that makes sense too. So something like that, they probably all have, like, if laser's going to work for you, then any one of those would probably have some sort of positive effect. Even the helmet would probably have some sort of positive effect, but I just think it looks stupid.
Or you can buy how many diodes are now recommended? 240 diodes?
I don't know.
You can buy you can go to the dollar store and you can buy 240 cat toys. It'll be less than $1. Go to 99-cent store.
Yeah.
So for $240, you can form the plastic around your head, and you can just put holes in it. Fashion your own DIY, and this is the only DIY type of laser treatment for hair loss that I would recommend. And if you're handy, you can make your own.
Yep.
And it's the exact same strength diode.
I actually did research on this, and part of it was in that video where all these laser diodes
are made in China.
They're made in China, but they're all and I don't have it in front of me, but they're all the same power wattage. Yes. The output, like 5 milliwatts.
Right.
They're all in the same bandwidth of transmission, which is 550 to 650 nanometers. And so when people talk about, there's more power output with our device, it's complete horseshit. It just means that there's more diodes. That's it. So if you want more diodes, then go back to the store and buy 100 more diodes. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing as a laser pointer from Staples that you can get off Amazon. So so you know.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I was curious about it. Cool. I guess my other question is, I know it's a private case.
We're going to get a lot of love from the Theradome guys.
I know.
From who? Which guys?
Theradome and whoever makes these helmets and stuff.
I restore guys.
Yeah.
I restore, exactly.
Look,
all those caps.
Look, we're not saying that your caps aren't working. We're just saying that, look, guys can do it themselves.
Right.
That's it.
I'm
Not
just
quite
saying it
like
looks
PRP, not like PRP at home. That's good.
That's
I'm glad you
definitely
guys aren't
different
suggesting
than DIY PRP. Yeah,
that's a different
sure.
animal altogether.
For sure. Hey, I was going to ask, I know it's his case and it's private and all, but I know you've been talking a lot about Kyle Christie's work. I was just curious how involved his kind of repair or a repair like his, how involved? I know it might take a couple of surgeries. What does that take? Does that take...
I'm going to let Joe answer that, but that is an involved fucking repair.
That's what I'm curious.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was some laser removal, building around existing.
You cannot remove that kind of hair with laser, and the reason being is because every graft that was stuck into poor Kyle Christie's forehead had, 4 to 6 hairs. I mean, just it was like brush hair. It was like, I'll go ahead and tell you this. I'm not going to get into the details, but he's already had step 1 of his repair surgery, and he had 300 I can't say follicular units because they're too big. He had 300 grafts removed, physically removed, not lasered, not electrolyzed, physically removed with a punch.
Wow.
And the difference, he sent me some photos, was like, holy shit, night and day.
Really?
Night and day.
Nice.
Yeah. So with his case, he's going to be able to get away with a really substantial change and improvement with 2 procedures, because he's going to go back in a few months to have a proper hairline built up with properly prepared single hair follicular units, proper angle, proper direction by someone that knows what he's doing, and yeah, so he's on his way. He's made a big step, and I'm really happy for him. He's overjoyed.
Awesome.
It's kind of a shock for him at first, because it's like when your hairline's like this, and then all of it's removed, not all of it, but the majority of it's removed, more foreheads revealed. So it was a shock, but several days later he's like, actually this looks pretty damn good. Yeah, so he's happy. Yeah, so big step. 2 procedures for him, possibly a third for like maybe some refinement, but 2 procedures are pretty much getting them done.
Oh, it's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, Nico, listen. I mean, I actually have to take a break. Did you have another phone? Or do you have another question?
No. Believe it or not, I don't.
All right. Thank God. Listen, dude. Always appreciate the call.
You bet.
Lashana Tova. Have a easy fast, even though you don't fast.
Nope.
But thanks for the call, and always wish you the best of luck, man. You always have some great questions, and appreciate the support.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man.
Thanks for calling, Nico.
Okay, bye-bye.
Be well. Bye.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Phone number is 888-659-3727. If I come back and there is no phone calls, then we are calling it a night. So we have lines open. You call us, 888-659-3727. Joe, give out the UK number.
And UK number is...
Now, let me ask you a question, Joe. Do you want me to just play something you can type to the guys in the chat room? Want to take a break, or what do you want to do?
Sure, I'll talk to him in the chat room.
Or you just want to talk to him? I can keep everything going.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. So call if you're in the UK. If you have ability to call from a UK number, the number is 0203-3724-683. That's 0203-3724-683. So Spencer's gone. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so HSK Creed, we're talking about Kyle Christie's recent removal of grafts. Those grafts were recycled and put behind the new hairline for density, because the work that he had before, even though it was, even though it looked dense, it wasn't dense, because the grafts were replaced had so many hairs in them. It kind of gave the illusion. But there's some photos I think I posted. I think I posted them somewhere. Anyway, there's some photos that Kyle sent me before he got this repair. I think it was actually in one of the interview. Yeah, it was one of the interview videos I did with him. There's 3 of them out there now, where you can see just how low density it is, and it's pretty revealing. So check that out if you can. Let's see what else. Manu Eldorado, the hair follicles killed. Someone's talking about. Okay, so you're answering HSK Creed's question of electrolysis. Yeah, the follicles killed with heat. It's generated by the electricity at the end of that needle that goes in. It is a needle, but it has to be antigen-based. Yeah, very good. Manu Eldorado, that's a good answer. I have an example of that also on my YouTube channel on the playlist for Dr. Cooley at Hair Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm documenting a procedure in the clinic, and I think it's either the second or maybe the third video in that series. I think there's 8 or 11. I think there's eight videos in that series where you can see Dr. Cooley performing electrolysis.
What are you guys talking about?
On some grafts in a patient's scalp that's being repaired. So in the conversation about Spencer, don't mention it to him when he comes back.
I already read it.
Oh, hi, Spencer.
Guys, I'm gonna have to take another break in a second too, but 888-659-3727. If you want to call in, we will stay on the air. If you don't, we're going to go. I know there's a lot of people watching and listening to the broadcast, but look, I got my buddy here. He's leaving. It's Yom Kippur. I can get the hell out of here. What I like to do instead of going to shul on Yom Kippur is I like to go drinking. While everyone else is fasting, I'm like, you know what? We suffered enough. That's how I feel about it. How many more years do Jews have to suffer?
Our ancestors would want us to enjoy ourselves.
I want to go out drinking and have a good time. And I got to tell you, you get the low-hanging fruit as far as women are concerned on Yom Kippur in the bars. Common law, if you're listening, I'm just kidding. Guys, I'll give out the phone number one last time. That's 888-659-3727. If the phones don't ring in like a second, I am calling it a night, and I'm going to close up shop. Joe, you don't mind, right? You got stuff to do.
I got stuff to do. Okay. Absolutely.
All right, let me go to the websites. Hairtransplantmentor.com is where you can learn about Joe Tillman's... Oh, fucking phone rang.
Damn it. All right.
All right,
let's answer it.
I'll take this call. And it's from New York, so it's probably someone we know. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
I bet it's Dave.
It's someone you know, Dante.
Oh, Dante.
It's close.
What's happening, man?
Happy New Year, Spencer, and...
Thank you. You too.
I know it's...
and happy Tuesday to Joe.
Not a happy holiday, but yeah, happy Tuesday, Joe.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, not too many really happy Jewish holidays anyway. All the holidays just remind me of sitting next to my father in temple when he smelled like Schlitz and Dentine and he just was miserable. And that's what it reminds me of. That's my life as a young Jewish boy.
Oh God.
So anyway,
that's one of the great memories of my pop that Spencer and I both share, because our fathers have very similar backgrounds. They're both
World War II
vets. Yeah. They're both paratroopers in 82nd, right?
No, my father was a combat engineer.
Oh, that's right, combat engineer in 82nd, and they're both into Dentine and Schlitz when we're kids.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think it's a WW2 thing.
That was the first beer I ever drank, actually.
Mine too.
And we had this old school refrigerator, the kind that kids would get stuck in.
Yeah, with a big handle that comes out like this.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, you couldn't put it out in the street on bulk night.
No.
Probably had to take the door off, right?
Yeah, take the door off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But kids would actually die in their homes. With the, it's like,
yeah.
How could they have not figured that out beforehand? How many kids had to die before they figured out the whole magnetic system?
I guess in a research facility, they didn't have kids climbing in the refrigerator.
That's true. But you know what? I would have thought of that.
What research facility?
Yeah, that's how paranoid I am about stuff. I would have been like, some kid's going to kill himself in this thing. We got to figure out an escape route. Even if we couldn't use magnets, there would have been some sort of a latch inside. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so what
I
you
don't
got,
have
Dante?
much to say. I just figured I didn't really want to see you guys leave so early, but I guess it's okay if you do. But I got this little trick now. So I was last time I called, I said I was like in a shed. So my hair looks like it's coming back, so it's looking pretty good. But what also happens with this piece, in the back, if they move it up a little bit more towards the front, what happens is it's very interesting. When you look through the front hairline, then you can see that the fake hair, and it gives you a good backdrop, and it makes the hairline look even fuller, right? Because if you could see the hairline, there's nothing right back there. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what actually that is a very interesting thing. When last time we spoke, when you're saying that you have this gap between your hairpiece, and I said, why don't you have a slightly larger piece made? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, and that's what the the place that I go to said. But I'm trying to hold out. Right now I'm okay, but I'm trying to hold out because I think what happens is you keep this hairpiece on, it's just going to kill, whatever hair is up there. And I do have a little bit of hair up there, where that gap is, but I don't want it to just get killed.
Let me tell you this. There are some doctors who will claim that the glue or the wearing the piece could actually permanently damage the hair. The only way that hair is permanently damaged is if, during the removal process, if that hair is constantly pulled out. And what a lot of people do when you go to these system places, they are lazy. So they don't gingerly remove that hairpiece when the hair is growing underneath it. And they either will cut it or pull it. And a lot of guys will have traction. Now, sometimes it can cause scarring, some type forms of scarring alopecia. But just from the glue itself and just from the piece itself, you could basically have concrete on your head. And your hair will grow to the point where you're having ingrown hairs.
Yep.
So that is a myth. And a lot of hair transplant doctors, one in particular, this guy in New York, he used to say there's a certain type of skin that develops after someone wears a hairpiece for a long time. Yeah, I mean, that eventually gets better. But the reality is the reason they're scarring alopecia is because of the application and the removal of the system. So I wouldn't worry about it killing your hair.
Well, that's good to know because the girl that I go to, she's good because what they do is they find, the edge and they pull it up a little bit and they take oil on, a couple cotton balls with oil, whatever kind of oil they use, and they start to oil underneath it, and it just kind of peels right off. So
right. They use a mineral oil type of solution.
Yeah.
A 91% isopropyl alcohol will work as well, but some guys and it'll work actually really well, but some guys would just get irritated scalps. But that just essentially dissolves the glue. And a lot of people don't like to do that. And also companies, if they're selling you products, they don't want to tell you about the fact that you can just buy alcohol in your drugstore. They want to sell you some sort of removal product.
So I have that. So they do move it forward, and it not only that little gap in there gets covered a little bit, but it makes the hairline look strong because you see through if you could see through the hairline, you still see more hair back there, and it makes it look denser. So.
It makes it look denser. It also gives even a more natural appearance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because most people, especially if you're above the age of 50, your hairline is pretty see-through, even if you have a full head of hair. If you really look closely at older guys with full heads of hair, they usually don't have the Tom Cruise thing happening. So
you're right. That's true.
So, dude, you don't need another hair transplant. I'm glad we've saved you from that. I know you think about it once in a while, but the fact that they've accidentally moved this piece up a little bit, or maybe it wasn't an accident, and you're able to see yourself in a different light and realize, wait a second, I'm wearing this thing anyway. Now I don't have to go in for a transplant.
Yeah, right now I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, so sometimes, she puts it a little more forward, sometimes she's a little more back, and it makes a little bit of a difference. But
well, ask her to keep it forward, and that's it.
Well, that's what she wants to do, because she's saying to me, the next one, should be bigger. And I always try to shy away from it because I don't want to give in, Don't want to give up the fight.
Dude, let go, dude. Let go. You're not giving up the fight. You're already wearing. You're in your 60s. You are.
Embrace the peace.
Embrace the peace. Enjoy it. It's freedom for a lot of guys. They don't realize it. You're already in it, so it's not like it's hindering you.
Just be the peace, Dante. Just be the peace.
Be the peace.
Be the peace.
No.
All right, Dante. Thank you for the call. We're going to take another quick call. I'm probably going to hand it over to Joe because I'm going to have to say goodbye to my buddy. And
right,
the guy just hung up. So fuck all you guys. We're going to call it a night.
Could be it.
Dante, you take care.
All right. You too, guys.
All
Have
right.
a good night.
Dante,
Right.
good hearing from you. Take care.
Good hearing from you. Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
call.
Take care. Bye.
All right, guys. You hung up? I'm out of here. Thank you so much. Joe, you don't mind, do you?
No, it's fine. He blew my chance to do my first solo phone call. Thanks, caller, for nothing.
I'll tell you what. You want to take the chat for a while? I'll come back in like 3 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we're gonna stay on the air for you guys, even though you don't care. All right, let's see who this is. Hold on. Let's see who this is.
Was it a call? Okay.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Yo, what's up? My name is Justin. This is my first time calling in. I'm calling from Bellbrook, Ohio.
Welcome, man. How are you?
Hello, Justin.
I'm doing pretty good. I just randomly found this show in my recommended. What's this about?
Are you losing your hair?
Not yet, but I will probably in the near future.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. If you're not dealing with hair loss now and you're concerned about losing hair in the near future, you can watch the show, but I wouldn't become obsessed with it. And then if you do, God forbid, start to lose your hair, feel free to call us. All right, man?
All right.
All right, take
All
care.
right.
Thanks for the call, man.
Yeah, thanks. All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
No problem. See you, man.
All right. And that was yours. That was one of your peeps. No, that was not. He was nice. It wasn't a prank. He just wanted to know what his show's about. He's like, what the fuck is going on here?
I like that.
Yeah.
He gets a video in suggested feed or recommended
Yeah.
feed. He starts watching a few minutes. It's like, oh, there's a phone number. What the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What's this about? Instead of watching to figure it out.
All right, I'm going to let you.
That's awesome.
I'm going to say goodbye to my buddy. I'm going to let you talk to these guys in the chat, and then I'll come back, and if we got no phone calls, we're going to call it a night.
Fair enough.
Phone number is
Guys,
888-659-3727. You keep giving it out, and I'll be back.
Start sending me some questions in the chat room now. Let's see something. Oh, at FSK, Joe, can you talk about hair angles for the hairline? What should I ask the doc about how he plans to do that? Well, I'm going to give you a generic answer, not specific to your situation, but this has to apply to anyone that's looking. So I think it's important that when you're going in for hairline work, I mean, this is the most important aspect of any hair transplant surgery. If you're going to have hairline work, that takes precedent over everything, because this is what people see when they're talking to you. It's what you see when you're looking in the mirror. It's what everyone sees on your Facebook photos, things like that. And the quality of the hairline dictates your hairstyle. If you got a shitty hairline, you got Caesar styles. If you got a good hairline, density notwithstanding, then you got any hairstyle you want. So what I think that people should ask for is, first and foremost, are you using stereoscopic dissecting microscopes to separate and refine and dissect single hair follicular units that will go only in the hairline? And how long have they been using them? What kind of experience do they have with them? Because there are some clinics that are coming on board with FUE that are just now incorporating microscopes in their practices, which is great. It's awesome. I love hearing about that. But you don't just start using microscopes and start turning out fantastic results. You gotta have experience, especially when you have multiple technicians on multiple microscopes. They'll have different learning curves for each technician, and there is a learning curve. It's completely different than just separating grafts using magnified jeweler's loops. But there's also the issue of angle and direction. So when you're looking at natural hair, and I'm actually doing a study on this, or trying to get together the resources for my own study on this, but when you look at angles on heads of hair that have not receded or that are not being affected by male pattern hair loss, there's a very specific angle that is somewhat different from ethnicity to ethnicity and hair type to hair type. But in general, you're going to see angles that are more flat against the scalp as opposed to vertical, and that's why you don't want to have vertical placement. That's why, you know, a lot of these bad results that you see online, the result is too vertical. That's one of the telltale giveaways of a bad hair transplant. But little known fact is that the direction of hair is very specific across the board, and with very little variation from patient to patient. The variation comes to do with various characteristics that can be thrown in the mix. But the point I'm getting to is that hair growth on the scalp is a giant extension of your whorl pattern. So if you have a very identified or very very easy to identify whorl pattern in your scalp, which is usually clockwise, then the growth of your hair rotates outward and goes all the way around your scalp in that same direction. So it's a giant expansion of that whorl pattern. So juvenile hairlines, if you're having a juvenile hairline created, you'll notice that assuming you have a clockwise rotation of your whorl pattern, that the hair on the left side of your hairline, this is my left, will be pointing forward and flatter, whereas once it comes around to the center hairline, it kind of starts to change to where it's almost going backward. So these hairs transition to where your temple on the right side, again assuming a clockwise rotation of your whorl pattern, is pointing backward. That's why a lot of times if you look at the hair on the sides above your ears, on the right-hand side, it's also growing backward, and the hair on the left is growing forward. So it's a giant expansion of the whorl pattern. If you have a counterclockwise whorl pattern, it just goes in the opposite direction. And that will put you in a strong minority because most people have a clockwise rotation. I hope that helps. Let's see, what else do we got here? What is my everyday hair routine? Asked by Jay Jones. My everyday hair routine, after I get up in the morning, I throw the hat on usually, take my dog for a walk, and then I come in, and when I do clean my hair, I just wash it with usually Pai Shao shampoo, which I've talked about before, and I'll brush it back. I'll blow dry it, comb it, zap it with some hairspray, and that's it. It takes me about 5 minutes, including the hair drying, because there's not a whole lot to dry. But that's it. It's really nothing major. And then sometimes I'll put in hair fibers. It's rare, but I'll put in hair fibers. I actually have hair fibers in today because it's something I was doing. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty simple. That's it. Any other questions? I don't see anything new. Let's see what we got here. Anyway, yeah, I don't see any other questions, guys. If I'm here to answer your questions in chat, so until you put some questions in there, I'm just gonna wait for Spencer to come back, and we're gonna leave. If you also want to call in, the number is 888-659-3727. If you happen to be a night owl and you're in
Joe,
the
it looks like you have a phone call. I'm going to set this phone call up for you,
okay,
and then I'm going to be right back. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, this is Bruce. How you doing?
Hey, Bruce, man.
Hey, Bruce.
How are you?
Well, good. I saw you went on a little break there. I was going to ask Joe a question.
Yeah.
Gone, but since
Go
you're
ahead. Well, ask him to go. I have to go out for a second. I'll be right back. So go ahead, ask Joe.
No, that's fine. No, hey, Joe, I was going to ask you, just from my procedure years ago that I had where it was just in the, back in 95. So, of course, I did some multiple hair stuff up front. Since then, I've had some stuff done, and I'm pretty satisfied. I have very curly hair. Like I told you before, on the sides it looks great, but there's just a 2, and I wonder if you'd seen this. There's just a 2-inch area, maybe 1.5 inches, right here in the front, where you can see that, and I can see it. But my hair's so curly. Whenever I, shampoo it, put some hair cream in, there's no big deal with anything. So I mean, I know it's there. I mean, others don't. I don't know if it's something without you seeing it, just by giving me your opinion. Like, is it something maybe later on getting somebody in the IAHRS to look at, or just, you think just kind of, I'm 52 years old. I mean, there's
yeah.
I'm satisfied.
Sorry, back up just a second. What is it you said, a spot in the front that you can see? What is exactly that you can see that?
It's just, just the hairline, which you were just going in detail with the guy a minute ago about, the single hair grafts, and 95 Bosley didn't do that.
Right.
And, of course, I went in there a couple of years back, and, of course, they didn't really want to, give me the time of day. But since then, I've had a good, successful procedure done. And like I told y'all before, just 7 months ago, and I'm really satisfied. Now that I've had that done, I see that just that little 1.5 inch area right there in the very front, it didn't get, because it was already, done from years ago. But when my hair is done and whatever, I mean, it's just, it's hard to explain. There's nothing really there to see unless it's combed straight back.
I actually understand exactly what you're talking about now. And the blessing that you have is that you have curly hair. Curly hair. I don't know how tight the curls are. Like, would you say it's very curly, medium curly, or just wavy?
Medium curly. It's not. Okay. It's more than wavy, but it's not like kinky. It's just medium curly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing with curly hair. You can get away with a lot of things with curly hair. You can get away with low density. You can get away with multi-hair grafts in the hairline more so than you can with hair like myself, straighter hair. And I think that that's especially the case if you use some sort of product in your hair, like maybe gel or some sort of pomade or something to kind of control it. Because I know a lot of times people with curly or really wavy hair will use something like that to keep it under control. But what happens with product is it groups the hair together in clumps anyway. And so even people that have straight hair like myself, when my hair was receding and I had the big multi-hair grafts in the front, I would use before I went bald behind it, I would use hair product like mousse, because that was the big thing back then, to style it and kind of push it back. And because of the way that it clumps hair together, everything just kind of blended and it was workable, right? So that's the blessing that you have with curly hair. Also, because the curl itself just tends to distract from it. It doesn't. You're not expecting to see, these
all right, let me get this straight. Are you saying that mousse is no longer okay?
I'm not. No, I think it's perfect. I use it all the time.
Okay, because you affected my confidence a little bit there. Just kidding.
But
I would
no,
love to use mousse if I could.
I think there's some better products nowadays out there, better mousse. But
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But you know what I'm saying? Like, hair or products that are designed to control your hair so you can do different things with it, keep it from flying away or being frizzy. Stuff like that tends to help the multi-hair graft type of situation.
And me being one of these old school guys where, you'd want to comb the hair straight back like I know these new millennial guys don't do that kind of stuff. But the thing is, even if I did do that in the morning, within an hour or so, it's the curls are going forward anyway, so you're not going to see any. It's just one of those deals. So,
yeah,
it looks. I mean, I can hang my head out the window in my car, my truck, and look in the side view mirror in the sun, and I've got density from the curl, and you can't see anything in the front. It's just I know it's there. It's one of those deals.
Well, you're pretty lucky then. If it's just because you know it's there. If that's your biggest concern, I understand that. But if no one else knows, and if you actually look at yourself and don't see it in certain light, then you're styling it and you're lucky enough. And I just came in the middle of the conversation, so I could be talking out of my ass, not knowing what I'm talking about. But from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're doing okay.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah, I feel like that. Just the deal is just I go. Nowadays, it seems like I go longer in between haircuts than I did years ago, which is okay. I mean, because with the curly hair, you can pack it down anyway, and it looks shorter anyway for, half the day before the stuff wears out anyway. So,
all right, man.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll give it another 5 months or 6 months and look at it again.
Well, the great thing is, it's been 23 years since you had your procedure. And you're still able to deal with it, and you've not had. I could be wrong. Forgive me if I forgot this, but one procedure and it's lasted you 23 years. That's pretty good. That's real good.
No, it was bad where you had mentioned earlier where your hair had fallen out behind that hairline. Mine had done that, so I did something 7 months ago about it. And the procedure done
that's right.
Then,
I'm sorry.
It's been a game changer night and day. Now that it's there, I mean, it looks awesome, great. It's just that now that I'm like that greed where you were, like, man, should I do one more little thing to make it look right, or something? Just one of those deals.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's really necessary because I got to get up in the mirror like within 6 inches just to pull it back to see it myself.
Well, the good thing is that 7 months, you still have like 5 more years of development to look forward to. So I'm just kidding.
5 more months.
That's no, you got a few more months of development. So it's going to continue to come in. Majority grafts will probably come through. You still have some to look forward to, but from here on out for the next 5 to probably 7 months, it's a thickening procedure or a thickening process, a maturing process. And so if you're happy now, I mean, if things are looking good at 7 months, then you just got more benefits to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, man.
Well, yeah.
Really appreciate the call. You sound like you're doing well, and Joe needs to pay more attention to the history of our callers, so that
that's my ADD, man.
Dude, you see how difficult you're trying to figure shit out. You're on there alone. You're reading stuff. I'm texting you, asking you stupid questions.
Yeah. You guys watching and listening don't realize Spencer was texting me, trying to make me crack.
Can you please give me the information about your doctor's drinking habits?
Hey, one thing real quick.
Yeah.
You can go to YouTube and watch the dark side of bodybuilding videos, and now Joe can do the dark side of hair transplants. Most of us don't want to be known or recognized anyway.
It's actually very funny. That is so weird that you just said that. I just shared a memory. I had an undercover doc, and I shared it on I was just alerted to the fact that this is a phony ISHRS page, but I shared it to that group anyway because it's a busy group. And it's talking about the dark side of the hair transplant industry. I have a guy in the shadows, and I put this online 2 years ago, just saw it on my Facebook feed and decided to share it again. And you just said dark side of the hair transplant industry.
That's great.
You're freaking me out, dude.
Well, it's like if you look at all the old school Mr. Olympia guys, and you see Ronnie Coleman and all those guys who can't even walk, and they got pins and screws in their back. I mean,
I can guarantee you they were not taking steroids.
Oh. No, that's what these videos are about. These are old school guys telling young kids don't even touch it, don't get near it. But they don't listen, like C.T. Fletcher and all those guys. These kids won't listen to them nowadays. So, but that was funny. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. Listen, thank you for the call. Thank you for continuing to listen, and let us know how you do after, when you're at your 10-month mark or something. Or call us before if you have any questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, sir, I will. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, good night. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, I decided to share that on the fake ISHRS page.
I see it right
because
now.
I think it's it's pretty powerful.
I agree.
But the problem is I don't know if the page is fake or not. So if it's fake, whoever has made a fake ISHRS group, please just come out of the shadows and let us know.
Just stop.
Just stop it. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hello. Hey.
This is Rodney from Kansas.
Rodney from Kansas. How are you, man?
Hello, Rodney.
Good. How are you guys?
We're okay, man. What's going on?
Not too bad.
Hey, well, here's the deal. I started losing my hair when I was really young, probably about 15, and I just kind of battled it. I battled it. Now I'm in my 40s, and I got a son who's turned about 15, and then he started having the same problems. So I got him on Finasteride. Okay?
At 15?
Yeah, 15 years old.
That's young. Got him on it. So how did you find a doctor who's willing to prescribe it?
I just talked to my doctor, and I told him the situation. He said, "Yeah, let's do it."
That's interesting.
So,
how is your would you consider your son to be fully developed, at least,
Yeah.
In the
he's huge. He's a great big guy. I mean, he's like over 6 foot tall, almost 200 pounds now.
All right.
Just a big old guy. And I mean, he looked like he was done growing.
Yeah.
So we weren't concerned about that. I mean, you just looked at him, he just looked way older. Always has.
Well, you know what? I think it's great that at least you had a doctor who who decided to prescribe it. That's important.
Yeah.
I mean, really, most doctors won't prescribe it until 18 because they're concerned that the kid's not, fully grown and that there's some other, maturity as far as, sexual maturity. Usually around 15, you're pretty much done down there. It's like height and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. I've actually only known one person under the age of 18 that's ever used it, and now they're probably about 40, and they saved their hair. So,
yeah.
Wow. Cool. Well, so here's the deal. So at 15, I got him on there. Now he's 16. So it's actually been about 14 months since he's been on it. We've just always run with the generic.
Yeah.
And then we get it from like a Sam's Club. Mm-hmm. And then they did like what you guys said, like all of a sudden, like we were using like Actavis, I think.
Right.
And then the one time I go there and pick it up and it's Camber. And then the next time I go and it's like Aurobindo, like a bunch of names I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
So like, even though I asked them, hey, can we stick with this? They're like, well, we're not doing that one anymore. We're not doing that one anymore. So my current situation is, do I just keep rolling the dice and keep recently he's on the Aurobindo. I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
I don't know if you're saying it right either, to tell you the truth.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, do I just keep doing that? Like he's taking it? It's like he's not having any side effects that he's telling me of? Or at what point do I go, I can actually get the like Tiva, the 5 milligram for zero. It's like free. They'll just give it to you.
Right.
They'll give it to me. I can get Tiva 5 milligram and quarter it. Or do I go ProScar, go with the real McCoy? Because I advanced really early. By like 18, 19, I was at Norwood. I don't even know.
Well, I guess the question is right now, how is he doing?
Yeah, he seems to be kind of holding his own. It's a little hard to tell. I don't try to obsess on it or anything, but it looks like he's doing all right with it. He just seems to be doing all right. We don't do any Rogaine.
Right.
I thought about doing Rogaine foam. I left that crap alone. I listened to you guys enough. It doesn't sound like you were huge proponents of it.
Look. Here's the thing. Your kid is 15, and if he's not complaining of any adverse side effects and he's happy with what's happening with his hair, then you're lucky enough where the generics and the changes in generics seem to be working for him. If you want to do something that's more stable, and you feel as a father this is something you should talk to his doctor about, then that makes sense. I mean, there would be nothing wrong with, you're talking about an Israeli generic, which is, it's a well-known company that seems to make products that are extremely similar as far as the molecular structure and fillers and stuff like that to the brand names.
Yeah.
And they have a great reputation. If you know that you're able to get that on a regular basis, you should talk to your doctor about it, and or your son's doctor, and see if he thinks it makes sense for you to do that. If you know that you're going to be able to get the brand name, and I consider that a brand of generics on a regular basis, then it's going to be cheap, and I think that cutting in quarters is, again, I'm not a doctor, but it should be fine.
Tiva's the most, just based on my experience, I don't really have any personal experience with it, but just people that I've talked to and patients I know that are taking it. If I were to take any generic, it would be Tiva.
Okay.
But I think that if you can get ProScar at a reasonable price,
I can. Then I think it looks like it'd be around $600 a year or something. I think it's like $200 or a little bit under that. And I figure times 3, it'd be about $600 a year. Much less than Propecia.
And that's quartering it and taking a quarter a day. Is that how he's taking it?
Yeah. Well, that's how he would if I would do the ProScar. And then also I've heard like this when you quarter a pill that isn't scored, they say this like, one day you might get 2.5, one day you might get 1.5, and like, you know what I mean? Like it's not ratioed.
Correct. I think that if you have a good pill cutter, I cut mine in quarters. I take name brand ProScar, and it's true that it's not going to be exact, but when you're taking it consistently for quite a while, it doesn't need to be exact. And I wouldn't say that you're going to get 2.5 versus 1.25 one day, because you're taking it, you're splitting it in half, and you take that half and you split that in half. So you might get 1.75 versus 1. Out of that half that's been split up. But there's going to be a little bit of waste. There's going to be a little bit of powder breaking off. The argument that I've heard is that the active ingredient is not evenly distributed through the tablet, and so one day you might be taking finasteride, and the other day you might be taking filler. I don't think that's anything. I don't think it's anything to worry about with a legit product. But that's one argument I've heard against that.
But let's think about the logic. Let's think about the logic of that, though. So essentially, these products are made in these vats.
Yeah.
And it's not as though it's not like they're making a burrito where they have this thing open and putting the beans on one side and then the rice and the meat on the other side. So essentially, they're mixing all of these, the molecular structure. They're mixing this drug together in huge vats.
Yeah.
How can it not be evenly distributed?
That makes sense.
It's like making cream of wheat.
I mean, that's a perfect analogy. But these vats are like the size of brewery vats, like at a beer manufacturer, or even bigger. Yeah. Huge.
When I hear these ridiculous statements, I'm like, especially when it comes from a doctor, I'm like, you went to medical school.
It's like I can see the assembly line where people are putting together individual. They're pouring powder into individual like outlines of ProScar tablets and little tiny mixers and just mixing them up.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, it's kind of like guys who sell street drugs. They mix up the blow with the laxative or whatever it is. It's completely distributed evenly, and they're doing it in the kitchen. So it makes absolutely no sense. And any doctor can call in, again, I'm not a physician, and let me know how that makes sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to know.
Well, they say, it has to be scored. They kept talking about that. It needs to be scored. I was like, I don't know. And I take like little allergy pills, and they're scored. And I was like, maybe it makes sense.
There's also plenty of, if you, the law, at least here in California, is if a drug is prescribed or filled, the prescription is filled at a certain date, they have to give an expiration date of 1 year after it's prescribed. Now, if you happen to get the bottle of pills, like for instance, I get ProScar, and on the prescription it will say 1 year from the day it was prescribed. But if I peel the thing off on the bottle, it's like 2022 for the expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guys don't know that because it's poured into a little, pill box, pill bottle from the main bottle. But I happen to get the whole bottle. But the reality is, most of these drugs will not lose their efficacy after years of being stored. And if they do, it's very minimal. They did a lot of studies. The only concern they made that as far as drugs losing their efficacy over time is antibiotics. Now, the reason I'm saying that is there's just a lot of bullshit out there when it comes to medication.
Yeah.
So do what makes sense. Talk to your doctor about it. But I would say that the majority of people who do cut these drugs in quarters are probably getting close to the same dose every time. And they're not just getting the top with filler and the bottom with the drug.
Yeah, I didn't want him to start experiencing side effects of any kind. He's never felt anything funny. Like, he never said his balls hurt or anything, but I tried not to do the psychosomatic thing, tell him of all the symptoms, because then he would have all that.
And that's a good idea. And you also may not want to fuck with things as right now. You just may want to just be prepared for the future. If he starts to say, hey, maybe I'm, it looks like I'm losing my hair again.
Yeah.
Maybe just wait.
It seems like it's kind of holding steady right now, but I can't really tell. And I try not to look at it. He's just a young kid playing video games and crap, I walk by and I'm like, and he gets out of the shower, and I'm like, it looks kind of thin up there.
Oh,
I talked to his hairdresser, told me one time about a year. See, I've never told anybody this, that I even got him on as like I never talked to anybody.
Well, what does he say? Because I mean, you obviously, like, he knows why he's on this medication. So has he brought it up since then, or?
That's a great question. Like when So he started right when he was at 15. I said, hey, man, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but, your hair looks a little thin back there. And he took his phone, he took a picture, and he goes, oh, my gosh, yeah, it's getting thin, Dad. I said, all right, well, I went through the same crap, and it was horrible. People give you all kinds of crap. So I said, I've done some research. I listened to you guys and did some research, talked about the big three, and then I found out that Rogaine was kind of Rudy Poo. And I looked at the Nizoral. Like, he takes Nizoral, does Nizoral shampoo and Region Pure. I mean, he's got the whole arsenal in his shower. And then I gave him the pill.
I think it's safe to say that you can bring this up with him from time to time. Just ask him, how's the hair situation going? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little awkward, but I said something to him one time, and he's like, I don't know, man. It feels all right to me. What do you think? And I was like, I don't know. Seems fine to me, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing.
So,
if you can ask him, and the fact that he says that it seems all right to him, that's great. He's doing well. And even putting him on, if he's currently doing well with, even flipping back and forth to different generics, I don't know if I would fuck with it.
He was on 13 months of the Activus, whatever the hell it's called.
Activus, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they gave me a bottle of Camber, and I said, what the hell is this? But I took it out of the store, so they wouldn't let me return it, so it was just sitting in my dresser. And then I talked to him again, and then I rolled in some kind of RO Bindo and said, we're going to have this for a while. I was like, can I get the Activus? Because that seemed to be working fine. They said, no, we're done with that. And then I was like, yeah, that's what Spencer and Joe talk about. They pull this shit on you, where you're kind of going along with something. And then I talked to the pharmacist, and they kind of act like I'm stupid, and I'm like questioning this stuff.
Well, because they're told that everything is the same, and the reality is it's not. That's just the reality. Now, does that mean that your son is going to have adverse side effects, or he's not going to get the desired effect from the drugs, even though they're going from generic to generic? No. He may just be the guy that responds to any balance of finasteride and whatever fillers you're using. Also, he's young.
Yeah.
So I probably, if I was a father, and luckily I'm not, but no, I'm just kidding. I mean,
you might be.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true. I have no idea. Somebody's gonna, some Puerto Rican kid can come knocking on my door. I had some fun in Puerto Rico on my days. But anyway, long story short, my advice would be, until he comes to you, it's great to be proactive and be prepared to say, hey, I'm going to get this Tiva. But if it's not a financial issue, and if he seems to be doing well, kind of just let him be, and every once in a while, just check in on him and see how he's doing.
So you would just stay with this funky brand from India that I'm getting?
You know what? If he's not complaining about shedding, if you're not seeing hair around, you can check his drain. You can be like, if you want to do that. If you don't see a change, and you can ask him, say, hey, listen, how are you feeling on with finasteride?
Yeah, I didn't even tell him that it was a different brand. All of a sudden it went from being like red to being white, and he's like, what are we doing here? And I was like, it's the same crap. Just keep taking it.
Yeah.
It was red? Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a reddish orange, the Activus.
Yeah, it was more like Propecia, the color of Propecia.
Yeah. And then this one's white, and he's like, hey, what are we doing here? Same stuff. Just keep taking it.
And how long ago was that?
It was about 2 weeks ago. And he hasn't complained or anything, didn't say his weenie feels funny or anything, but we don't talk about balls and wieners very much.
Right.
But
I didn't have many conversations. I had a lot of dick conversations with my father when he was old, for some reason, because he wanted to show off his penis a lot after the age of 90. But God bless him. Anyway.
So you said if you were the dad, would you lobby and try to call the doctor and say, hey, can we just get Tiva just so I can have some peace of mind and some security where I know I'm getting the same crap? At least if I buy one bottle of it, I'll have it for 4 months, right?
I would have the ability. I would want the ability for that to be the case.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you feel about this, Joe. I just say if he's okay taking the pills he's on it right now, just he can continue. Or then when the prescription is up, you can just say, hey, this is the same stuff. It's less expensive. You could switch him, but that switch could end up fucking him up.
Here's one thing that might be possible for you. And when you were talking to your pharmacist and they said, nope, we're done with that, we've got this now. I don't know the law state by state. But I do know in some places that if you specifically request a brand, a specific brand of generic, or if you're on generic and they don't carry name brand and you ask for generic, they'll order it for you. It'll just cost more because some places will order it for you. But the reason why a lot of these generics are so cheap is because, I mean, they're cheaper anyway, but they're buying this in bulk and they're getting contract prices due to bidding. Different suppliers will bid for their product to be in these stores or in these pharmacies at a lower price than the next guy, and that's how they win. But in some places, if your doctor actually writes down the name brand of a medication and says no generic substitutes, you get the name brand.
Yeah.
And if you have a pharmacy that says we just don't have access to it, then that's a different thing. But find a different pharmacy.
But they actually, everyone, they could order it. I can't imagine a pharmacy not having it. I mean, you just have to order it.
Yeah, I said something. It was at a Sam's Club, and they said, hey, we can try Walmart. So they tried Walmart in town and a couple different places. They're like, no, they're not doing it either.
Well, they may not have it in stock, but they can order it.
And a lot of these people don't realize that they can actually, I mean, just because they work someplace doesn't mean they know how things run. And they may not be aware that that's an option that they have, is to order something custom, for lack of a better, for their clients.
They just acted like it was no longer available. That was off the table, is what it felt like.
Yeah,
when I talked,
they're full of shit. It is available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. Listen, we wish you the best of luck. Let us know how your son does. I think you sound like a great father.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you listened to the show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and I didn't know if it was how long it was going to last. If it's going to work at all. I have no idea. In fact, they kind of scoffed at me at the pharmacy, like, "Who's this for? What are you doing with this?" And I was like, "It's for my son." They're like, "How old is he?" And then they're like, "Is it working?" I'm like, "Yeah," and that's why I keep coming back. You know, no shit. I mean, I'm giving it a shot.
Let me tell you something. If a pharmacist starts to be judgy with you.
Yeah.
You just tell him to go fuck himself and fill the bottle, dude. That's it. You know, this is in 1947 when being a pharmacist was a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, man. You take
Pharmacist
care.
starts asking me what the name of my son is. First name, Nunya.
Yeah. That's it.
And none your business.
None your fucking business.
All right, man. You take care.
Well, all right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
And I appreciate all of you pharmacists out there. I'm just giving you shit. I don't want the American Academy of Pharmaceutical Medicine or whatever they're called to write me a letter. You have a very important job. I got to tell you though, in general, if you're working for one of the big places like CVS or Rite Aid, I've met a lot of really fucked up pharmacists. I much prefer a mom and pop store, which I just found, by the way.
I just had visions of, like, you know, these guys in lab coats with pickets walking circles around your.
Well, with all that said, I actually have a first cousin once removed who just finished pharmacy school, and that's great, and I'm very proud of her, and it's great that she has that under her belt, and we need pharmacists in this world. So I'm just fucking around with you.
Of course.
But the truth is, you know, you're not doing a lot of compounding anymore. It's not what it used to be.
No, they're filling scripts, filling bottles with what they have on hand,
and they're judging people for their Valtrex prescriptions. I'm just saying. That's a herpes medication, in case you guys don't know. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
John Cole.
Hey, Dr. Cole.
Dr. Cole, how are you?
How you guys doing?
You know what? We're not doing terribly.
Yeah. Well, how's all those fake Facebook pages y'all are putting together?
Dude, I just posted on the fake ISHRS page.
Yeah.
But apparently I have some sort of control over. And the very first, which is funny, the very first person who joined was the director of the ISHRS 4 years prior to me even knowing about it.
Maybe she forgot.
It's fascinating to me. Apparently, I started the page on a clandestine fashion and waited 4 years.
Yeah.
Then to jump up and take it over.
She joined right after you put up the fake site.
That's right.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Oh, man. wanted to talk about a patient today.
All right. I think your speakers may be on. I don't know if I hear a little feedback.
No, not really, but
Okay.
I could try my speaker.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so I had a 26-year-old patient contact us today, and he was looking for 2,500 grafts that had been recommended to him by a clinic I'd never heard of. It was nearby, but it was a brand new clinic. And so we said, well, shoot us a picture and then maybe come in and we'll take a look at you. He shot over the picture, and, you know, he's already dropping down on the sides, way down in the back. The whole top was going. He's clearly moving to a Norwood 7.
Right.
Which, you know, you don't transplant those guys.
Right.
So we told him, well, you're not a candidate, and you shouldn't have any transplants. And we said, come on in, let us evaluate you, and we'll get you on some medication. You know, probably spend about an hour with you, so we're going to have to charge you a small office visit, but you're not a candidate for hair transplant surgery. And he said, well, I'm not interested in that. So now he's going to shop around and see if he can find somebody to do the surgery.
Oh, and he'll find
So we also, well, we suggested he contact the IHRS,
right,
and take a look, do some homework. And I think that's what we're all trying to do is get these patients to understand there's a lot of clinics out there where the doctors aren't even doing the surgery, and they're roping these young men into surgeries that are just going to ruin their lives down the road. You know, by age 35, he's going to be miserable, absolutely miserable.
And that's right. And the thing is, you know, patients want to hear what they want to hear, and if they've already been told that they're able to have the surgery that they're hoping will change their life, and then all of a sudden they're told, well, you're not a candidate, they're going to continue to believe that maybe this guy for some reason is wrong, or maybe he can't do as good of a job as his other clinic, doesn't have the skill set, whatever it is. People want to believe what they want to believe, and it's unfortunate. We're able to talk people out of surgery all the time, which is great, but it's hard. It's really hard. So yeah, I think Dr. Cole, you're doing a really good thing. Very few people want to turn patients away, but you know what the end result's going to be for these guys, and it's also for the doctors who choose to transplant these patients. That could be a lifelong, you know, I hate to say it, but a pain in the ass. Not only are you harming the patient, if you get one really angry guy, that could ruin somebody's practice. So there's a lot to think about.
Absolutely, 100%. You know, there's the real concern is, you know, you got doctors and clinics and consultants today that didn't exist a few years ago.
No.
That don't understand what's going to happen to this young man. You know, there's some borderline cases out there that had transplants that shouldn't. You know, in the past 28 years I've been doing this, but nothing like we're seeing today. And
well, now everybody
really are not candidates are being told come on in for surgery.
Well, that's partially the fault of
that gets in his head.
That's partially the fault of the device manufacturers who are, and the fault of the. I always say that even, you know, listen, you've been in the industry for a long time, but your industry commoditized the field itself years ago. It kind of set the path for this to happen, in my view. And because it's been considered like this simple outpatient procedure, that's the way that the big companies advertised, and you would see the hair flying from the back of the scalp to the front of the scalp as though there's like no real surgical process.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it became a commodity. So then these guys who became device makers, these larger companies, are like, listen, it's easy, it's turnkey. And so a lot of these guys who are getting into the business, they truly don't understand. I don't think they believe they're harming people until it's too late. Some people might.
Yeah, they don't know any better.
They just don't know any better.
They don't know any better.
Yeah.
They don't have any formal training in hair restoration to begin with. You know, there's still a lot of bad surgery out there from doctors who've been around for a long time, no question. But
yeah,
of course.
Today, we've got doctors that don't even know what they're going to do to these individuals. And the doctors might have a good reputation doing one thing, but not in hair transplant surgery, which oftentimes is much more technically difficult to do than, let's say, a breast augmentation.
What a lot of those people don't understand is that when they're taking on hair, they could have the most successful plastics practice in town or in their state or province, but once they start taking on hair, that can just fuck everything up. Like, their reputation can go down the toilet because they took on hair restoration and didn't know what they were getting into and started ruining lives. And
and it's happening.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, the lack of awareness is mind-boggling, and it has to do with, I think there's a few reasons for this, but like Spencer said, it has to do with the device manufacturers and the way that they've been presenting it to their clients. I mean, at the big meeting coming up next month in LA, I can't imagine how many of these device manufacturers are going to be in the vendor section, and every one of them is going to have the same message on how, you make this investment, you can lease it or buy it outright, and this will add, X percentage of dollars to your bottom line. That's the way it's being presented, and they're biting.
Well, also as far as the older guys, the guys who have been involved in the industry for a long time, they're being sold ease of use. They're being sold some sort of a simple turnkey device that will help them get into the FUE game, because they chose not to concentrate on learning how to do FUE when it was first really introduced to North America. So they are 10 years behind, 15 years behind. They need to catch up in order to maintain and keep their doors open. This is an opportunity for them to catch up. So it's not just new doctors in the field. It's guys who have been involved in hair for 20 years as well.
Yep.
So
that's true.
I don't know which is worse.
They didn't jump on board a long time ago, and they a lot of them don't have the skill set, so they go out and hire nurses to do the surgery for them. Because quite honestly, I hate to say it, but a lot of assistants have more surgical talent than a lot of the guys that do hair transplants for a full-time living.
Look, to me, if it's legal and these people are good and the patient is fully aware of what's happening to them, then, if they're well-trained, and that's why Dr. Cole, you and I have spoken about this. I think wherever it's legal for PAs or technicians or nurses to be part of the surgery or perform the surgery, and if it's going to happen anyway, they need to be well trained, and patients need to be aware of it. That this is happening.
To be aware of it. But what I often hear is patients come in and they've been to reputable doctors that are using assistants to do the surgery, but they were never told the doctor was not going to do the extractions.
That's correct.
So that's going on quite a bit.
That's a huge problem.
I think a lot of the big hair transplant meetings are not the ones that are bringing in some of these instrument makers that are actively trying to create turnkey operations. But you see it at things like ISAPs,
right?
And down in Miami, where there's a company that is not going to be in LA, but they will be there, and this is their market. I mean, this is where they grab these poor, unsuspecting surgeons who think it's a Mickey Mouse surgery, probably because they weren't taught it in plastic surgery residency and always thought it was bad because the quality of work was so bad for 30, 40 years. And these are the plastic surgeons, cosmetic surgeons are going to bite on that stuff, and before you know it, it's going to be everywhere.
Well, it already is everywhere, and all you have to do is look at sites, that even you belong to, where they're mainstream cosmetic surgery sites with top doc ratings and all this stuff, and you guys are forced to compete with complete novices who may even have more reviews or more stars, or they've participated more. So in the eyes of the consumer, you are the same. And that's why I tell IHS members.
It's a new one every day.
And I tell IHS members, if you guys can get this distinction on, like that site, for instance, it's really important that you do. Let the consumer know. Now, the site may not allow it, but let the consumer know in everything that you do that you are separate and apart if you're going to be putting yourself in this pool of complete novices and chop shops.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a hard time doing that on RealCell because they tend to protect all the doctors. But
I
know you're
agree.
working real hard to educate the public, and I know that collaboration with FUE Europe is working hard to educate the public.
Absolutely.
And trying real hard to get more and more doctors to be active in getting your message across, so that patients can get the information they need to avoid these surgeons who, quite frankly, are dangerous.
Well, Dr. Cole, we can do it.
Yep.
And it's going to take the right amount of people to convince, but I really think the way to do it is just you go directly to the physicians. Get the physicians involved. A few hundred guys, and I'd say 400 or 500 guys, and it's done. It's over. It is a complete massacre, and we narrow down the playing field. These fringe guys are either going to have to learn how to do it, or they're not going to be able to compete with the real guys. That's the whole point. And it should be a one-for-all, all-for-one effort. You're not competing against your local IHRS doctor anymore, or your ISHRS doctor. You are now forced to compete with these chop shops, these med spas, these turnkey device people who know nothing.
Hair salons.
Hair salons. Absolutely. I told you I was asked to be a part.
To shave and a transplant.
I was asked to be a part and an investor, and also to kind of to help with the brand of something that's becoming pretty successful. And it is kind of exactly what you spoke about. I don't want to be too specific. And I chose not to do that. But that is where the industry is going. And sadly, your colleagues, guys who've been around as long as you have, I'm not saying you're old, but we've been around the same amount of time, is that they don't even understand the tsunami that's coming.
Tell me about it.
They have no fucking clue.
And it's every day.
Every day.
Every day somebody new.
And listen,
I used to know every player in my city and in the cities I worked in. Now I hear about somebody new almost every week.
Well, when you come out here, and I'm hoping that we make plans you come to visit the studio, I'll take you on a walking tour just from your hotel, and you'll see how many neografters are just around, like Santa Monica Boulevard. It's insane. So anyway, Doc, always a pleasure. Thanks for the call. Listen, guys, check out FUE Europe, even though it's the website for the FUE Europe Society. What is it, FUEEurope.com or FUE?
Yeah, FUEEurope.com.
Yeah, and also FUE Magazine.
Sorry, FUE-Europe.com.
And also I think FUE Magazine is what's unique about that is that consumers now have access to a journal, which they didn't have access to before.
And both of you are going to have articles in that coming up in October.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think that's really unique. First of all, I want the consumer to understand, don't get too involved in the minutia of things. Your job is to really figure out the safe bet, as far as, getting surgery, whether you're a candidate or not, who to have surgery performed by, and what your safest options are. Some guys get so involved in the minutia, and as far as like how many grafts per square centimeter and this and that, it becomes overwhelming for some guys to make a decision. So while I think it's important that they have access to this journal, I don't want them to get confused by some of the medical articles that are going to be in it.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think it's great exposure for the consumer, and I'd like to encourage anyone that's watching live or listening or watching after this is an archived episode, go to FUEmagazine.com. I just went online, and there's a great new article that was posted by our Bald Truth colleague, Spencer Speck Stevenson, where he's talking about this very issue about these, some people call them pirate clinics. It's a great article. It's a great little piece of exposure for what's going on in the industry.
He's actually become a really good writer, too. I'm proud of him.
Yeah. So that's FUEmagazine.com. It's running at the top of the page under breaking news. Check it out.
All right, guys.
All right, Doc. Listen,
I just sort of give a nod to the IHRS for your listeners to go there to find a safe clinic.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. You take care.
Good hearing from you, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Guys, we'll take another phone call, I guess, before we call it a night. 888-659-3727. I would love for more doctors to take the time to participate. I would say, really, it's Dr. Cole and Dr. Bauman. These are the guys that take time to call. Every once in a while, we'll get a call from somebody. Glenn Charles will call in.
Glenn Charles, yeah.
But this is a great platform for doctors to speak directly to the patient and to get their truth out to the consumer, which is, it's compelling. People want to hear from you. So anyway, if you're a doctor, call in. Let's see who this is.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Good. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Michael. I'm from Texas.
Hey, Michael. Welcome. Man.
Hello, Michael.
All right. So I'm 22, and I've always had like a naturally high hairline, and I started rocking like an undercut about a year ago, and then
I'm 53. What does that mean?
An undercut?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a shaved on the sides, like a.
So it's like a Hitler Youth.
Yeah, that's what some people call it.
Okay.
That's not what I was going
All right.
for, though.
All right. I hear you.
So I had that, and then I noticed when I was styling it, I had like a little bald spot, but I just like was like, that's weird, and I ignored it for probably like half a year. Just thought it was like I don't know what it was, and then I started noticing my temples go, and I went on a trip this summer. And I didn't want to start Propecia, even though I had gotten a prescription for it. So I started using Rogaine, and I used that for like 3 weeks. And I noticed like a huge shed on it. But I was going to stick to it, and I had like a side effect. It was like really hard for me to catch my breath throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had to stop taking it because it was like actually concerning. So I got back from my trip, immediately started taking Propecia, and that was about 80 days ago. And now, like before this, my density was good. Like I could just kind of comb it back, and it was kind of like a comb over, but nobody really noticed. Now I can't even really do that. Like my question for y'all is like a massive shed on Propecia at the beginning, like a bad sign?
Actually, not necessarily. A lot of guys, you were already shedding from minoxidil, so you're already you kind of jump-started the telogen effluvium or telogen process, and then you added finasteride. Did I say minoxidil? And then you added finasteride, so your hair was already in that shift. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. Usually, if you go through a telogen or an effluvium, it's a good sign. In most cases, that means that the drug is working, and eventually you'll stabilize. The reversal of miniaturization is going to become more visible, and the hair that you lost will grow back. That's not guaranteed, but that's usually the case.
Yeah.
And again, we're not doctors, but this is based on, I've been on this drug for, how old am I? Since I was 28 or 27, something like that, for a long-ass time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I've been on 16 years, so.
Yeah. So, and I've gone through sheds. I went through, my shed actually didn't start until about 6 months in or something like that. And at the time, there's really no information about it. I freaked. I thought it stopped working. I upped my dosage to 7.5 milligrams a day.
Jeez.
I upped my dosage to 2 boxes a day.
Yeah. And I didn't give a shit. I was like, I'm going to take this and I will down it with a scotch at that age. And I've just been very, very fortunate that I saved a lot of hair. And it absolutely, and again, we make no dollars from Merck. We're not here to push drugs on people, but based on our personal experiences and my personal experience, this drug changed my life completely. I would not be behind this microphone if it wasn't for taking finasteride.
Yeah, I honestly don't really care about the potential sides. Like, this is my last step, After this, it's like a freaking buzz cut until I'm bald. So.
Well, you know what, and the fact that you even have that in your back pocket is pretty healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I didn't have that in my back pocket in 1987. You didn't shave your head in
What do you
1987. In 1987, if you shaved your head, you were a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Or you had to look like Yul
Skinhead.
Brenner, and you probably don't know who that is. So,
No, I don't, yeah.
yeah. So it wasn't happening back then.
Stop aging us, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Now you have the option to do that, and if you feel comfortable doing it, you win.
All right.
You know. So
last question for y'all
Yeah.
before I go. So would it be like, did you have any like temple regrowth? I mean, I'm not expecting a lot, but I've just lost like probably 3/4 of an inch since I started taking it.
Well, a lot of people get temples confused. You're talking about your temporal points. You're talking about your temples as far as recession in the peaks, like in your hairline, the sides of your hairline.
Yeah, in the hairline, yeah, like right above, kind of above, not above my ears, but like on the far sides, you know.
Okay, so you're talking about the actual sides of your scalp. Can you see me on camera right now?
The little triangles behind either eyebrow.
Or in front of your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's your temple point.
I will tell you that in my experience, I was noticing a change in the sides of my hair, including the temporal points, when I started taking the drug. Most people in the business, and I think Dr. Cole was in the chat room last week, and he happened to mention the strength of my temple points. That miniaturization reversed for me. So the first thing that I noticed was the sides really thickened up to the point where I was getting the bozo look. You don't even know who bozo is. I was getting the clown look, you know, with the hair on the sides growing out and the top not growing as much. So for me, it definitely bulked that up again, and it reversed the miniaturization process in the sides and allowed me to keep really pretty significant side, hair and temple points for most of my life.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all. I got to roll, but y'all have a good night.
All right, man. Good luck. Man. Take care.
Have a good one.
Roll on.
All right. Give him the long answer. Guy's got to go. He's calling a talk show.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, appreciate it. I got to run.
Yeah, listen, I got more important things to do than taking life advice from you guys. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello?
Hey, this is Rick from Virginia.
Rick from Virginia. What's happening, man?
Hello, Rick.
Hey, doing good. I just want to first thank you guys. Your guys' show is amazing. I've been a newer viewer, let's say, maybe over the last just couple of months, but it's awesome.
We are pretty awesome. Thank you.
Hey, so I'm 43.
Yeah.
And I would say my hair's been thinning very slowly, maybe for the past 10 years. Almost the first couple of years, like I wasn't even really sure. It just, I always keep my hair pretty short. I would kind of buzz it down, and then sometimes I let it grow out and then buzz it down. And then I noticed maybe about 10 years ago or so when I started to grow it back, just the back, kind of the crown area, it just seemed a little different, let's just say. Kind of like glide down a little bit flatter. My hair's kind of wavy. And then so I didn't just kind of like discarded it maybe a little bit and thought, maybe something's happening back there. And then, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago, I grew it back all the way, and I was, okay, yep, it's definitely, because it was really flat and thin. And, kind of did the research, looked at the Rogaine and the Finasteride and those sort of things, and got scared of the shed. You're going to initially shed, and, you read the forums, and some people talk about, I got the shed.
Do not read the forums.
I know. So
what's funny? There are people out there in the business who are like Kobren saying not to read the forums. I have the most read forum that doesn't have a back end in the industry, and I tell people not to read the forums, and I believe in that. But no matter what I say, they're going to read the fucking forums. But if you read them, take it with a grain of salt. Realize that you're dealing with. Those of us in this field and have spent time in the forums. We are the most neurotic of people in the industry. I'm behind this mic because I was not equipped to deal with hair loss. Period. That's why I'm behind this mic. Most people on the forums are either like me, and in many cases, much worse. So you have to kind of put that into perspective when you're reading the information that's being put out there.
Well, so it was actually your guys' show that got me to stop reading the forums and those things.
Good.
And just say, hey, you know what? Let me take some real advice from people that really know what they're doing, not just some guy who's logging in and just putting in his 2 cents and those things.
Do me a favor though, just click on my forum like once a day. You don't have to read it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Bookmark it and just click it once.
Yeah,
that's
all
all
you
you need.
That's it. That's just what? Daily click.
Yeah, just a daily click. So, Willis, I'm glad you found us. Okay, so what's your situation right now? So now you're not obsessing about what's on the forums. That's good.
Not obsessing anymore. And I'm basically, I'm pretty much almost like a Norwood 2 in the front, I would say. Pretty decent hairline, but the back is noticeably thinning. If I don't buzz my hair down to like a number 1, you can tell. So about a month ago, I started Finasteride. And I got kind of like a little bit of the laser balls that, people talk about and those sort of things, kind of like electricity running through the nuts sort of thing. But no other really side effects or anything else. And my question really is just on your guys' sort of experience. And I don't really think I'm getting a shed yet. I mean, it's only been a month. Maybe I'm just kind of noticing a little bit more on those lines. But what are your guys' experience with, maybe older guys like myself in my 40s who start taking Finasteride as far as not even really regrowth, because I don't really have a full bald spot. It's kind of like maybe about the size of the palm of my hand where it's just very thin and you can sort of see the scalp a little bit. As far as the reversal of miniaturization versus just stopping future hair loss, like what are the sort of your differences?
I am a believer that it really just depends on, time of intervention as opposed to age.
Yeah,
I'm not a physician, but it seems like you've intervened relatively early, and you could probably, if the drug works for you, you will see a reversal of miniaturized hair. Now, is it going to grow back your bald spot? It might, to some degree. You may start to see it just getting smaller, the diameter getting smaller, but it may not completely fill in. You may notice that there's more of a diffuse look as opposed to the pattern that you have right now, meaning that some hairs are growing actually smack in the middle of that target, which will give you more hair to work with. But if you are shaving your head to a number 1 anyway, then you've already gotten to a point where you're pretty good. So whatever you get, if you're able to maintain that look at a number 1 and feel comfortable and just maintain the hair that you have, you win.
Yeah.
Yep. You fucking win. Like, I don't want to shave my hair to a number 1. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I don't do that. I don't do it anymore. Ever since I realized that it was falling out, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just kind of keep it while I grow it out more.
But that's a funny thing, though. That's a funny thing. So you look good with a shaved head, but you don't do it because you feel like you have no control. And it's a very funny thing. There's a Seinfeld episode. This guy, he's a swimmer.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. He shaved his head, and then Elaine saw his driver's license, and he had this beautiful head of hair. She mentioned it, and he decided to grow it out. And then he realized he was going bald. He lived bald for a decade. And then all of a sudden, he's depressed. She can't get him out of bed. He's wearing dirty T-shirts with stains on them. So, you've already won the battle. That's what I say.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to. It's not like you were diagnosed with cancer and you're like, wait a second, I can get some life in. I got to live a little bit before I die. It's not like you need to grow the hair out before you go bald. But there's nothing wrong with treating it. And I would say that you're in a much better position than most guys, emotionally.
Yeah, I think that and my age, and I'm married and all that kind of stuff too. So I definitely, there's a lot that I don't want to take for granted. But it's definitely, like you said, it's one of those things that's kind of like, wow, well, I'm actually, this is it. I'm going bald, and I thought maybe I was waiting more for the front to go. I thought it would kind of like, it's just kind of like surprises you when it's only in the back. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be one of those guys that's got like that weird little reverse yarmulke on the back of his head.
But that's actually the best type of baldness to have. I mean, if you're able to keep your hairline, you frame your face. Your looks don't really change. Yeah, you sit down, people are going to be like, oh, I didn't realize that what's-his-name is bald. That's all.
Yeah.
But when you look in the mirror, you're going to look the same. And that's how people really judge your appearance.
Right.
Like if I lose my hairline completely, you're talking about like a 7 head, okay? That I don't want to have. I don't want that. It's easier to paint my bald spot than to fill in my hairline with paint.
Right.
So you're in a good position, especially for your age. And I would say that talk to your doctor, but obviously if you're not having any adverse side effects, there's probably a good chance you're going to see some response.
Yeah. Does it have to actually fully fall out? Like if the miniaturization has gone in reverse, let's say, does the thicker hair that comes in, does it actually, like, does the thin hair start to grow thicker, or does that have to fall out first before the thicker one replaces it?
Actually, if you catch it, it depends on when you catch it. Sometimes, even if it's miniaturized and it goes into a telogen, a fluvium, that miniaturized hair will fall out and then start to regrow and regrow for longer periods of time. But in some cases, if you catch it in an anagen phase, that miniaturized hair will actually start to have a thicker diameter and grow for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really the luck of the draw.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, awesome. That's, like I said, you guys are, like I said, as far as reading the crap that I haven't read. I wish I had years ago found your guys' show, and I would have started sooner, and I kind of would have staved off whatever now. But I feel like I'm going to go.
What's crazy is that when you say years ago, I was about to say, well, Joe wasn't on it years ago, but he actually was. You've been on the show for a long time, Joe.
I have, yeah. I think we established I first called in around 2006, I think.
I think we need to put an end to that, actually. Just kidding. No, Joe has been an incredible asset. He has been an incredible asset to this broadcast and to the whole Bald Truth effort. And I wouldn't want to do the show without you, Joe. As a matter of fact, I'm going to step down and let you do the fucking show at some point. That's why I was trying to test you today to see if you can handle it. You did all right.
Basically, yeah, you had me reading basically off a teleprompter by answering questions.
You know what? And that's hard. Imagine being on the radio, on real radio, and getting no phone calls and having to talk for an hour. That shit happens to people. You got to be good.
You're a talker anyway, though.
Well, that's what I've been told. All right, Guy, listen, I wish you the best of luck. I'm glad you found the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed to Joe's page, subscribe to Joe's YouTube page. Click that bell or whatever that is.
We're growing, about to hit 8,000 apparently.
And also subscribe. Also subscribe to thebaldtruth.com. We don't not sell any emails. And iTunes. Even if you don't listen to it, just download it and put it in the trash. If you happen to just be watching us on Joe's page, because every like, every subscription helps the program.
Yep.
All right, man?
Too easy. Too easy. Thanks, fellas.
All right, you take care. All right,
on.
Good luck.
Thanks,
now.
Bye-bye.
All right, I'm out of here.
We are out of here.
We are out of here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a really great show. Dr. John Cole, thank you for calling in and supporting our efforts here at the Bald Truth and the IHRS, and we obviously support FUE Europe. Go ahead, Joe.
And you know what that effort is, or what his support is, and this is what I love about what he's been talking about, is he supports the effort, and this was key because you talked about this and you agreed. It's no longer competing with the guy down the street that's also on some list. Right now, and this goes out to every doctor that's watching this. Your own survival in this industry depends on you putting down or ripping down those walls between the other guys that you were competing with 10 years ago. You need to get over that shit. I know what it is because I was in the middle of it for far too long. I know exactly what's going on. You need to stop that shit, band together, support each other, because there's a much bigger enemy at the gate. They've already picked the lock.
But you know what's hilarious to me is that as a group, as an entity, this other organization somehow believes that we are the enemy.
Oh, it's so short-sighted.
When we're trying to save their fucking asses and the field.
We want to save the industry, which involves you guys.
Yes.
More than you realize, more than most of you realize. So I wanted to highlight that part of Dr. Cole's call, because that is the most important issue that we have as professionals in this industry, and more so than anything that's come before, period, end of story. And I wanted to reiterate it because it just needs to be driven home hard.
And I'm glad that you said professionals in the industry, because I want people to recognize Joe Tillman as a professional in this industry. I don't give a shit what you think about me.
Professional what? I have no idea.
But
thank you.
You want to be around influencers. You want to be around people who get the job fucking done. That's it. You have to put away your ideological prejudices and start helping people, patients, vulnerable people who are walking by here, on Santa Monica Boulevard, who are seeing, signs for Neograft and big, huge pane glass windows.
Yeah.
Not even the name of a doctor, just a machine and a head that has graffiti on it now, by the way.
Get your hair done here.
Yeah. You guys are just time is ticking, guys. Time is ticking. You don't have much time left. Whatever media campaigns that you're claiming to have, the stuff that I'm seeing online, I'm telling you, whatever money you plan to spend on certain campaigns, you're wasting your time unless you actually, truly band together.
Yep.
You have no leadership. You have management. And management is fearful of the status quo no longer being the status quo. Just, you guys got to fucking realize it. Wake the fuck up.
That was offensive.
The websites, yes. IAHRS.org for the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. If you're considering hair transplant surgery, listen, I founded the organization back in 2001 for a reason. Not the reason that some doctors believe, but the reason was to separate the great surgeons at the time from basically from all the rest. Now we are evolving the organization in a way that you guys will see, but really the guys that support our message, they're not just good at what they do, because there are guys that I've removed who are good at what they do, but they're pissed off that we're saying surgery is a last resort and all the things that we tell you guys. They have to support that message. You have to support truth in advertising. They cannot go in there and try to con people into surgery, even if they're good at what they do. So if you're choosing a doctor from the IHRS, at the very least, you know that they're ethical. You know that they have some sort of moral compass, and that in this field, they have the most consistent results. But remember, there's not an IHRS member that doesn't have somebody out there who believes they got fucked up by them.
Not a single doctor anywhere in or out of the IAHRS.
Right. That's the way it works.
Unless they just started 6 months ago.
Yeah. The reason I want to make sure that that's clear, people are like, oh, well, he's in this organization. Every procedure must be perfect. That's not the way cosmetic surgery works, guys.
No.
The American Hair Loss Association, we are revamping that site. It will be ready when it's ready.
When was the last time it was updated?
Yeah. The Civil War. Good basic information. Check out the American Hair Loss Association. The
most referenced.
Go ahead. You said.
Resource in the world. THE all caps. Globally by mass media. Bar none.
That is true, and there are people out there that don't like that for some reason, even though our message is clear and strong and safe and honest. Why don't some doctors who are actually good, why don't they want the truth out there? What is it that's holding them back? It's because it ain't money, because they're losing money. And these guys are now offering, fucking fat loss, devices and tattoo removal in their practices.
That's ridiculous.
If you are starting to offer some sort of other, fat loss procedures.
If you're a hair transplant specialist that for the past decade plus has been only doing hair transplants and now you're offering fat procedures,
you're in trouble.
Just hang up.
Yeah.
Just put your scrubs in the bin and go home.
Well,
you're done.
It's the wrong focus. And that's the thing. There are ways, that doctors who are really skilled can compete and get their message out there. And that is not just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what works. TheBaldTruth.com. Subscribe to the show through TheBaldTruth.com. see archives of this broadcast on thebaldtruth.com. I want to thank the guys from Queens Network for syndicating this program, and everyone who's listening on iHeartRadio, thank you so much. Everyone listening on iTunes Radio, Stitcher Radio, thank you so much. You guys can call in too, you know. I want some guys to call in who are in their cars. Every once in a while we get someone listening in the car. And I guess that's it. BaldTruthTalk.com. And Joe, why don't you give a shout out to the websites and the forums who are also airing this broadcast?
The forums and websites that are airing this broadcast in no particular order. bellicapelli.forumfree.it, long domain, great website. It is an Italian-based hair loss and hair restoration forum. It's a great place to visit, even with the translation that you get with most internet browsers. Works really well. Great information. Seems to be activity on that forum that is rare to find on any forum where patients are sharing, which is really genuine. And I've always enjoyed being a part of that forum. Owner of that forum, hair transplant repair patient like myself. And you know what? He's not a mental case. He is, in his own words, just a guy. And Spencer and I just kind of have to agree with that because he's just a guy that we love to deal with. That's bellicapelli.forumfree.it. And we also have hairlossexperiences.com, primarily a British, UK-focused hair transplant forum. But being the interwebs, we've all got access to it. And they were the first forum that allowed us to stream our broadcast on their web property, and we certainly appreciate them because they too are not mental cases. They're just guys that we love to work with. So big shout out to both of them, and thank you for supporting this broadcast.
And I think Joe's message there is that there's a lot of mental cases in this field.
Fuck. Unbelievable.
This is one of the most toxic places you guys could ever imagine. So imagine if we're in the field, we're saying how toxic it is. Imagine the shit that you don't know about. That's why it's so important to do your research, to do your due diligence, to ask the questions that we tell you to ask. To go in there and say, hey, all right, who's doing the surgery? You're not doing the surgery? I want to see who's doing the surgery. I want to understand the entire process, and I want to learn about their credentials. And if I'm comfortable, I will pay your clinic, and I'll have the surgery done with you. No one asked that. They sit there like fucking sheep. They're like loxes. They're sitting there like loxes, like being told what they want to hear by some salesman. And then they get there on surgery day, and all of a sudden, there's some 15-year-old performing surgery on you. You don't want that to happen. You want to be prepared for that.
I want to read something. This kind of reminds me.
And I made use of hyperbole there. There's no 15-year-olds that I'm aware of who are currently performing surgery.
No. What you're saying is really important. But nowadays, I feel like you have to do your research about the clinic before or after you go talk to them to see if they've been changing their business name, to see if they've been shutting down and reopening in different locations. Because there are a lot of bad characters out there, a lot of bad players. And I found something online. I didn't even tell you about this yet, Spencer. I found a want ad for a technician, and this is an amazing want ad, and we can go after this. Day-to-day responsibilities for a new technician: setup, removal, maintenance of instruments, machine, microscopes for FUT, FUE procedures. Estimate the size of the donor site using a densitometer, along with nurses, and prepare the site for surgery. And it goes through some of these basic things here. Set up equipment for graft placement and ensure grafts are handled and chilled appropriately. And this is the one that gets me. Hold on a second. Let me find it real quick. Prepare the scalp for placement of grafts. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
They're using a NeoGraft machine. So what does that mean? Here's the experience required. 1+ year of dental technician or medical assistant preferred, not required. We'll look at qualified beauty therapists or someone who's trained in aesthetic procedures. 1+ years of trimming and placing hair preferred, but not essential. Experience with both FUE and FUT procedures preferred, but again, not essential. What is a plus is an artistic background. The attributes that they need to have is excellent manual dexterity, hand-eye coordination, ability to sit and stand for long periods of time, able to maintain high level of production and accuracy, must be able to function in a team environment. The pay, $80 a day. That, my friends, is pretty much the average of what these new clinics have that are determining your aesthetic future for the rest of your life.
You're having surgery performed by people who are making $80 a day, and really the only criteria is you have to have a nice rack and a pair of hands. That's it.
Pretty much.
All right, guys. We are going to call it a night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wow, it's almost sundown. I got to shut down. I turn off my lights and sit in the dark like all the rest of the Jews. Anyway, no, like I said, I go drinking on Yom Kippur. It is the best night of the year besides Thanksgiving Eve to go drinking.
I'm going to go get a fat burrito. Starving.
All right, man. All right, guys, until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you guys so much for listening. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
That's heavy.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it. And I've had a